The news and talk of Texas and wherever you are. News Talk 820 WBAP.
Welcome back to the Chris Salcedo Show. Not to be confused with those loudmouth leftist Latinos. I am your liberty-loving Latino. I actually love the country. This is our special. Illegal immigration, not a victimless crime. It wasn't enough, in my mind anyway, folks, for me to get these individuals on, although they were the focus, to let you hear it and to let me hear it. I wanted to have somebody of influence who would be able to take these stories, take this information, and do something with it. So over this 3-day special, we have had folks of influence come in and listen and let us know about what they felt, about what they heard. And it's my pleasure to welcome to the program. He is one of the most successful businessmen of our age. He's a best-selling author, reality TV star, and a leading contender for the GOP nomination for the President of the United States. A pleasure to welcome Donald Trump to the Chris Salcedo Show. Mr. Trump, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
First question right out of the box. You heard these stories from these individuals. What stood out for you?
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly which individuals because I haven't heard the stories. I haven't been listening to the show, although I hear you have a great show. But in terms of the individuals, I haven't heard the individuals. But I can tell you there have been plenty of other individuals where, I'm all over the country, Chris, and I see what's happening with illegal immigration. And I think had I not brought it up, this would be a subject that maybe even you might not be talking about. I mean, people would not be talking about it so much. And Dallas and the whole area is so badly affected. The whole country is affected by what's going on. And as you know, I took tremendous heat, or as Rush would say, incoming. I was really hit that first week and a half, 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden people started to see what happens, and a lot of horrific crimes took place with Kate in San Francisco, who was this magnificent young woman, and she was killed, shot in the back, and so many other crimes. Recently in California, another one where a woman, 66 years old, was raped and killed, and a lot of crime. And so now people that were actually very nasty toward me have been apologizing to me. So it's been an amazing period of time, Chris. It
is true. The national conversation would not be on this right now if it were not for you. And let me just fill you in on something that stood out for me. Every single one of these families had said that these individuals, before they killed their loved ones, they had been in the orbit of law enforcement, even on the federal level, and these people were still allowed out to kill their loved ones. And it seems that the establishment GOP and virtually all the Democrats and the press just want to ignore this thing and sweep it under the rug. If you get the nomination and ultimately get into the White House, what will be one of the ways that you want to tackle this so that these thousands of Americans who have had their loved ones taken from them by illegal immigrant criminals are not forgotten?
Well, I'll get into that, but I do want to say that, I've gotten to know so many families, and I don't know the exact families that you've been speaking to, but perhaps they've overlapped, and I would also know them because I've gotten to know a lot just being out on the road and seeing so many families, like Jamil, who was another great young guy who was shot down, and just it's so horrible. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, I don't know if you've heard this, and I think you were alluding to it in the question, one of the things that I've heard, and I've heard it strongly, is that the police were terrific until they found out they were illegal immigrants that did the killing. And then everybody sort of stopped. It all stopped. Like, the families are so devastated because what's happened is when they heard about somebody was killed and they have the killer, as soon as they found out the killer was an illegal immigrant, it wasn't the same level of force or enthusiasm to do bad things to the people, because I think they realized the laws are skewed and lots of things happen, and I don't know. And I was very surprised to hear that, actually, that if it were a killing and if it was somebody, citizen killing citizen, it would have been one thing. Illegal killing citizen, they just can't believe the lack of treatment that they get and the lack of law and order having to do with that. So I was surprised, and I don't know if you've heard that, and I may ask you if you've heard that, because to me it was very interesting and very sad.
Yeah, that has been a common theme. And the way they encapsulate it is they say, Mr. Trump, that the illegal immigrant in the United States of America, courtesy of our political class and courtesy of a biased press, the illegal immigrant is a protected class. And no one shall speak ill of the illegal immigrant, even when the illegal immigrant is killing American citizens. If it is President Trump, does that whole tenor change?
Totally changes. And first of all, we will build the wall. The wall will be a huge deterrent, and it will be policed properly, and people will come into this country, but they'll only come in legally. And we're going to have a big door. We're going to have people come in. We want people to come in, Chris, and you do too, but you want them to come in legally. And so we will have a wall. It will be built. It's not going to be difficult to be built. I don't know if you know, 10 years ago and 15 years ago, the most liberal people wanted the wall. They all wanted the wall, and they were unable to get it built because they had environmental impact problems. Can you believe this? Mm-hmm. They had environmental impact statements that they couldn't get done. They were, they went through a lot, and then, of course, they don't know anything about building, and that's the thing I know best in life, actually. And we will build a great wall, a high wall. It will be even a good-looking wall. It'll be a beautiful wall. And it'll be a wall that really functions properly. And, many walls, you go to Israel, you go to different places, the walls do work. They like to say, the wall won't work. The wall will work 100%. But it's got to be built. It's got to be built.
Yeah, let me give you an anecdote from my former hometown of San Diego, where the time was there was a metal cable. That was all that separated Mexico from San Diego, or Chula Vista, which is one of the border communities down that way. And they decided to build a barrier, a 3-barrier fence line. And you know what happened to illegal immigration? It dropped by 95% in the San Diego sector. So that's another story that shows you the barrier.
It has an absolute impact. And then if you build a real one, if you build something that's really going to work, it does work. And, they talk about tunneling. Well, tunneling is fine. All you have to do is, if you use the right equipment, you can see if a tunnel is being built very easily with the radar and the different things that they have. So, it's incredible. I hear so much about, the wall can't be built. Interestingly, Chris, I talk about the Great Wall of China. That's 13,000 miles. It was built 2,000 years ago, if you can believe it. 13,000 miles. Here you're talking about 2,000 miles, of which you need 1,000 miles. You don't need 2,000 because a lot of the natural terrain serves as a great, serves as its own wall. But we need 1,000. So that was 13,000. We need 1,000, and they say, it can't get built. But part of the problem was they couldn't get environmental approval. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I got you. First off, by the way, we're talking to Donald Trump. He is, of course, the leading contender for the GOP nomination here for president of the United States. You've got some news to break about coming to our neck of the woods, yes?
Well, I do, and we're going to be coming on September 14th, and this is about 95% sure. We're working it out. Mark Cuban, a great guy, and he's been working, and it's the American Airlines Center. And I think it's going to be about 6 o'clock in the evening. And so many people from Texas and Dallas, the Dallas area, wanted us to come. And this is a big topic, is the whole thing that we're talking about right now with illegal immigration. But we're talking about everything. And, in Alabama, we had 31,000 people, and we're getting these massive crowds. And so we said, you know what, let's do it. And we spoke with Mark, who is really a terrific guy. And we are going to be using his arena, the American Airlines Center, and it's going to be on September 14th. And you're the first one to know about it because I guess the papers were signed about 2 seconds ago. So you are breaking a major story, Chris. Congratulations.
Yes, we are. Our studios, by the way, just so you know, Mr. Trump, about 100 yards away from that venue. So please feel free to stop by.
You'll be there. You'll be there.
Yeah, and you have an open invitation to come and sit down with us too on your way over to the venue. Hey, I wanted to bring somebody on. I know who you know. Her name is Maria Espinosa with the Remembrance Project. I know that she has been instrumental in us putting together this special. She was instrumental in putting us in touch with you, and she wanted to say a word of thank you to you if you had a second. Maria Espinosa on the line.
She's a fantastic person, by the way. Fantastic. Go ahead. Hi, Maria.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Trump, as one mother said to you in Massachusetts, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. And thanks again for coming on the Chris Salcedo show. He's a wonderful patriot. As one mother told you in Massachusetts, you're the light our families needed in giving a voice to those who are suffering the most from our own government's unwillingness to protect. So, Mr. Trump, I thank you. God bless you, and you stay safe.
Well, they were great families in Massachusetts, and you're so amazing. And, I was telling Chris about the law enforcement, and you know the story that when they hear it's illegal immigrants, they sort of they just, I don't know what it is, they lose their enthusiasm to do anything about it. And I'm such a big believer in the police and the great job they do. You always have some bad apples, but the police do such a great job. But for some reason, when this happens, it's actually a very sad thing. But keep up the great work, Maria. We're going to get there.
Yeah, Mr.
Thank
Trump.
you. You're helping change that.
Yeah, and Mr. Trump, since you brought this up, you know about that horrific killing of the police officer, the sheriff's deputy down in Houston. We've got people coming in from all over the country here into the great state of Texas. Did you want to say a word or two about that?
Well, it is just horrible. Such a good guy and doing nothing to deserve this. And it's a lack of respect for law enforcement. And with all that's been said, these people are fantastic people. Without them, you wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be talking. There'd be bedlam. And we have to protect our police, and we have to protect law and order. It's so important. And as I said, you'll have some bad apples, and we've seen it, and you have them, and everybody has them. No matter where you go, no matter what profession or business, you have them. But in law enforcement, it's such a tiny, tiny little speck compared to the overall. And we really have to protect our police and cherish them, because without them, we would have, as I said, total bedlam.
Do you see a commitment from the current administration to our police officers around this country?
No, just the opposite. With the Obama administration, it's terrible. If you look at what happened in Baltimore or St. Louis or Ferguson or any place, I mean, there's so many hotbeds right now. No, it's really just the opposite. I mean, if you look at Baltimore, the first night it was over because they knocked the city. I mean, they set the city back 25 years in that first night, where the police were told to stand back. And that could have been stopped, that it could have been stopped swiftly and effectively. And it was very, very sad to see that. But by the time they got to the second night, it was sort of over. It was tough.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for making time out today. I know that your schedule is kind of busy as of late. Donald Trump, a most successful businessman of our age, TV star, and now the leading contender for the GOP nomination for President of the United States. Thank you for carving out time for our special here on the Chris Salcedo Show.
Well, thank you, Chris. And I'll see you September 14th. That'll be fantastic. We look forward to it.
Thank you, sir. We look forward to it as well. That's going to do it, everybody. The Chris Salcedo Show, a Tyler Kern and Sean Chastain production. Remember, DFW, a society's worth is not measured by how much power is seized by an out-of-control government, but rather how much power is reserved for we the people.